Happy Monday and welcome back to the Las Vegas desert alongside the handsomeness that is Tyler Fulghum. I'm the troll they call Joe Fortenbaugh, and this is your Monday installment of Bet. Is the sun setting on Phoenix this season?
That is tremendous writing.
So good. It was so good. It was sitting right there. Are the New York Yankees looking at a Cy Young candidate in their rotation? And Tim Bontemps live from Milwaukee to talk about this ever-important Game 6 in the NBA Finals, which we will discuss tomorrow. Or we will pick today, but it will be played tomorrow. Football fans, specifically of the Ravens and Raiders, whether you like them, hate them, or want to bet them, we're discussing them on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ESPN Sports Betting, as well as on today's episode of Daily Wager, which you can catch at 6 p.m. Eastern on ESPN2. Fresh off a weekend of golf, how you feeling?
Well, thankfully this weekend, when I did lose, I lost to gentlemen and women that had two functioning arms.
Oh,
so my guy Ashley in Denver, you know, my one-arm golfing friend, Ashley in Denver, beat my butt when I was back there. I lost to now two-armed human beings. So I got a lot of work to do here, Brother Joe. I got a lot of work to do.
One of these days, we'll open a Monday with him having a successful round or weekend. Maybe not both at the same time, but it is time, however, for a little reaction or no action. The topic to start the week, statement is read. If you agree, it's a reaction. If you disagree, it is no action. So we begin with Major League Baseball. Since 1900, no baseball team has lost more games in a single season than the 1962 New York Mets, who lost 120 games. Reaction or no action? The Arizona Diamondbacks, who are currently 27-68, will lose at least 120 games this season.
As hard as it may be, given what the Diamondbacks have shown this season in terms of ineptitude, I am going to take no action on losing at least 120 games. They're not even on pace for it right now.
Correct.
Like you mentioned. And one good week from the D-backs could throw this off even further. Go back before the All-Star break. There was a 3-game set in Houston where the Baltimore Orioles went into H-Town and swept them, and they could be the best team in all Major League Baseball. So over the course of 162, you know, variance within games and or weeks can happen. But over the course of the year, we know the D-backs are going to be bad. I just don't think they'll be 120 games bad, probably in that 110 to 115 region.
No action as well for me. 3-1 is the rationale. 3 reasons. One, like you said, they're currently not on pace. On pace at the moment to win 116 games or lose 116 games. So that gives us a little bit of a buffer. Number 2, the run differential right now is -154. That's more indicative of a 33-win team than a 27-win team. So the argument can be made that this team is underperforming a little bit, regardless to their expectation. I know that's not going to help any Diamondbacks fans anywhere on the planet, but you should be a little bit better. And then number 3, if it gets close, I think there's motivation in the clubhouse. Kind of like the New York Jets this past year.
Sure.
It might be the end of the season. You don't want to go down in history. Leave it to the Mets to hold that record. They deserve it. However, I did say 3-1. There's one reason why. Who has the hardest schedule in Major League Baseball the rest of the way? It's the Arizona Diamondbacks. The hardest strength of schedule, and it's not even close the rest of the way. That's what happens when you got to play the Dodgers, the league-leading Giants, the Padres. Throw the Rockies in there, but that doesn't really matter. So keep that in mind. It's probably going to be close, but I'm with you on the no action. All right, number 2. New York Yankees ace GERRIT Cole is currently your American League Cy Young favorite at a price of -120. He is an odds-on favorite. So, reaction or no action? Cole will not be the American League Cy Young favorite once we get to the month of September.
Yeah, we discussed this a little bit last week on Daily Wager here as well. In reaction to this, and I don't think he deserves to be the favorite right now even, Joe Fortenbaugh, much less by September if the trends keep continuing. First and foremost, let's talk about his team. Are they even going to make the postseason?
I don't think so.
A little tenuous right now, and how often do you see a pitcher who's not having a Jacob deGrom-like season, and Cole certainly is not, from a team that doesn't make the postseason win the Cy Young? I mentioned one White Sox starter last week. That was Lance Lynn.
And he got that new contract. You may have helped get that done. Lance.
I'll take some royalties there.
Small percentage.
Before last week or this weekend, he led the American League in ERA and ERA+. 1.99 ERA and a 2.15 ERA+. Now, his teammate has jumped him in both categories only because Lynn hasn't pitched enough innings to qualify, though if he has a normal start tonight, or today I should say, he will jump right back into business. His teammate Carlos Rodon just went out and absolutely shoved over the weekend. He technically leads the American League in ERA, ERA+, fielding independent ERA, and Ks per 9 and whip. That's a lot of stat categories to be leading.
Yeah.
Those two guys, Lynn and Rodon, headline a team that is more than likely going to the postseason as well, the Chicago White Sox.
Those are what I refer to as Grammy stats. My Grammy loves to watch this show, but she doesn't understand what any of those
Hi,
mean.
Grammy.
She always brings them up, like, what are you talking about? Don't worry about it. You're looking for the aesthetics, not for the words. And we appreciate that. Thank you very much. Disagreement here, no action. I think you make the right case if you're talking about who wins it.
Okay.
The question, however, is who's going to be the favorite come September, and I think the favorite will still be Gerrit Cole. All right, second to Carlos Rodon in WAR this season. 10 wins, which is tied for most in the American League. 2.63 ERA, which is third best in the AL. All right? The stats are there. The wins are there. And there's a narrative right now about whether or not the foreign substances ban has hurt him. It did it for a little bit, but his last 2 starts, he crushed Houston and Boston. 1 earned run,
good
23 strikeouts over 15 innings pitched. He went 2-0. So I think the numbers are going to be there. He's the biggest and most recognizable name on the biggest and most recognizable team. So he'll still be the favorite. But I think you're right. He's not going to win it. I think that's the difference. All right, moving along here. Let's go to the hardwood. Reaction or no action? After dropping 42 points in Game 4 and 40 points in Game 5, Phoenix Suns guard Devin Booker will record his 3rd straight 40-point game Tuesday night against the Bucks in Game 6.
No action.
No action.
First and foremost, it's just hard to score 40 points in an NBA Finals game, regardless of outcome. But what is something that is similar in terms of the outcome of those 40-point games for his particular team, the Phoenix Suns?
Losses.
They lost both of those
Losses.
games. I found a stat from Seth Partnow, athletic NBA analyst, on Twitter, and he looked at potential assists for Devin Booker in each game of this NBA Finals.
Okay.
Game 1 and 2, he had 28 total potential assists, 14 per game.
Okay.
They won both those games at home. Games 3 through 5, all losses, his potential assists dropped to 14 total, which is less than 5 per game.
Oh, my God.
So Devin Booker, I think just a little too literally adopted the Mamba mentality. The Phoenix Suns offense is at its best when not just Chris Paul, but Devin Booker is creating for himself and for CP3, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, DeAndre Ayton. If Booker can get back to someone who is not quite shot hunting so much, but also creating for his teammates, I think the Suns have a better chance to win. Therefore, I say no action on a 40-burger.
I'm in agreement with you. No action. I've got some different reasons. Love the reasons you laid out. Fantastic. Monty Williams has got to see that. They've got to make the appropriate adjustments. The scoring prop for Booker's 31.5. So that's Vegas setting what they think is going to bring in balanced action. We're talking about 40. Like you said, incredibly difficult to score 40 points in an NBA game, let alone the finals. Last 2 games, this is the key. Booker's shooting 56% from the floor. He shot 48% from the floor during the regular season. Translation, the shooting's going to come down at some point, and that's going to hurt the scoring. Shot 33 times in Game 5, most of 21 playoff games, so I don't know if he's going to get that many looks. And then perhaps even more importantly here, he's gone cold. We've seen him go ice cold. I think it was Game 3, he had 10 points, something like that. So the opportunity is there to go ice cold. There is I'm not going to say a low floor, but there's a floor. So I'm with you on that. No action. Let's talk more hardwood, but let's bring in a third voice that can help us make sense of what's left in this series. His name is Tim Bontemps. He does an excellent job covering the NBA for ESPN, and he's kind enough to join us here on
Kill that deer behind you, Tim.
Hey, maybe I did. It's a foreshadowing for later in the segment, maybe. We'll see.
If he did, this would get incredibly unique to be a conversation on the finals. Let's start with this. Down 0-2 entering Game 3, the Milwaukee Bucks were a plus 375 underdog to win the series. After 3 straight wins, they're now a massive minus 400 favorite to win the series. What does the team credit for this turnaround?
Well, it's kind of what you guys were just talking about, and it really, for me, comes down to the play of Chris Middleton and Jrue Holiday. You know, coming into this series, if Giannis Antetokounmpo was healthy, I thought he was going to be able to get whatever he wanted throughout this series, and so far that's been the case. Right after Game 1, when he was feeling himself in with 20 points and 17 rebounds, he's been utterly dominant. And the difference since then has been the way that Chris Middleton and Jrue Holiday have gone up against Chris Paul and Devin Booker. I thought if the Bucks guys could match the Suns' backcourt going forward in the series, they would win every game. And in the 3 games they've won, that's exactly how things have gone. And you talked about the way Devin Booker has kind of become an isolation scorer these past 3 games. The reason why that's happened is because Jrue Holiday, in my opinion, the best man-to-man guard defender in the league, has locked up Chris Paul for the vast majority of these games. And it put Devin Booker in a position where he's felt like he's had to go out there and be the one guy going and scoring for the Suns. And you guys hit the nail on the head. When the Suns are at their best, It's with when the ball is moving around and Devin Booker and Chris Paul are setting up plays for not only themselves, but the other guys on their team, whether it's Mikal Bridges and Jay Crowder on the perimeter or DeAndre Ayton rolling to the rim for those dunks. They've gotten away from that the last 3 games because of the way the Bucks have played them. That goes back to the way the Bucks guards have played, and I think there's a really good chance that's going to happen again tomorrow night in Game 6.
Well, Tim, I mean, you're a pro, so it is quite clear that you were able to set up this second question with the man you call the best on-ball defender in the NBA, GERRIT Holiday. A perfect segue into what he has individually done if we isolate him defensively. Had 2 huge steals in this postseason series. Of course, Game 4, that rip on Chris Paul that led to a Bucks cover. Yes. Sorry, we have to bring that up again. And then in Game 5 against Devin Booker late, that pretty much secured the win as he threw that oop to Giannis on the other end. His steals prop for this game is 1.5. Do you feel like going over that, given what he's shown us in recent games?
I love the over. I love the over on this one. He's had 3 steals each of the past 2 games. He's had 2 or more in 3 of the last 4. And I really like the way GERRIT Holiday is playing. You know, his offense will come and go. You know, we went 4 for 20 in Game 4, and sometimes, you know, he'll get in the lane and just miss shots you expect him to make. But his defense is always there. And like I said, he's done a phenomenal job blocking up Chris Paul in the series. People have talked about Chris being hurt. I think he's just wearing down from the size and physicality and strength that GERRIT Holiday plays with whenever he's on the court, picking him up full court, going up against him every second. So I expect GERRIT to be right in the mix again tomorrow, and I expect him to get at least a couple steals. So I definitely like the over on that one.
For Game 6, Chris Paul's scoring prop, his points prop is 21.5. For DeAndre Ayton, his points prop is 16.5. You put the 2 together, obviously, that is 38 points. What number are the Suns going to need from those 2 guys combined in order to force a Game 7?
I think at least 48. I think at least 10 more than that. You know, and that would mean that DeAndre Ayton, I should say, is back to playing the way that Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan used to play with the Clippers, and that he's getting into the lane and hitting DeAndre for those alley-oops. Because, again, it goes back to the same thing, right? The last couple of games, this has been the Devin Booker show. And for as good as Devin Booker is, when the Suns are the Devin Booker show, they're just not nearly as good of a team. And when they get Chris Paul snaking into the lane and hitting those alley-oops to DeAndre Ayton at the rim and setting up that blender where they're getting Mikal Bridges and Jay Crowder in the corners and getting Devin Booker spot-up 3-pointers, they are so much better and so much more effective on offense. You go back to Game 2, Suns got 17 corner threes in that game, hit 10 of them. They have not been nearly that dynamic from the corner since then. They've got to get back to that kind of offense again if they want to extend this series to a 7th game, and that's going to be in large part because they can get that Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton pick and roll, the center of so much of what they do offensively, going again in this series, which they have not done these past 3 games.
Tim Bontemps dropping all kinds of knowledge on us as we prepare for Game 6 tomorrow in Milwaukee, where you very clearly are. Tim, though, let's get your best bet, your favorite pick, so to speak, from Game 6. Milwaukee, the home team, laying 5, total of 222. What is a bet you'd like to share with our viewers?
I want the over on the 222, and I want the Bucks to win. I think the Bucks are going to win big in this Game 6. I feel like the momentum is clearly in their direction. You go back to Game 2, like I just mentioned, the Suns won that game because they went 20 for 40 from 3-point range, and GERRIT Holiday and Chris Middleton were terrible, right? Chris Middleton has one of the most ridiculous home road splits in the league. I think he's going to play really well in this Game 6. Giannis Antetokounmpo is locked in and focused. He's getting whatever he wants on the court. I expect the Bucks to win this championship tomorrow night, and I expect them to score a bunch of points to get the over. So those are my picks for the fans at home. We'll see if I'm right.
Bear Grylls from Man vs. Wild has nothing on him. Tim Bontemps, he covers the NBA for ESPN. Kind enough to join us here on Bet. Thank you, Tim. Enjoy the game tomorrow night. I would love to get that buck that was behind him just right here in the studio.
That would be fantastic.
It would make no sense given that this is Las Vegas in a very small studio, but it would still look hilarious.
I don't know if Tim is picking his shots where he's at or if it's, up to the people who are helping him get those shots ready for us here on Bet, but that is one of the best backgrounds we've ever had on Bet. A fully stuffed buck looking regal behind the very regal Tim Bontemps.
All right, so let's go to work. NBA Playoff Pick'em Finals Edition, possibly. Sadly, the last version of NBA Playoff Pick'em for us to play this season. We are going to begin like this. The Bucks are laying 5. The total is 222. Side or total, you release, I release, and then we'll move on to the prop market. What are you thinking here? Bontemps likes the Bucks big and an over. Do you agree?
Boy, I don't feel quite as confident about my selection on the side now that I hear that from Tim Bontemps, the Buck Whisperer. out there in Milwaukee, but I'll take the points in my pocket with the Phoenix Suns. And Joe, I ask you this question as kind of my first bullet point here. How long did the Suns lead Game 4 in Milwaukee last time we saw these two teams meet up in Milwaukee?
You're such a prick. You've brought this up twice now after we have thought. I thought we moved past it. They led for 41 minutes and 19 seconds.
47 minutes.
41. It was only 19 seconds in which Phoenix was not covering.
So, for a team I picked to win, and again, I couch that and hedge it by saying I picked them to win thinking Giannis would be far less available as he has been. He's been the MVP of the series for the Bucks.
He's been nothing but available.
He's been nothing but available and dominant. However, the Suns have shown with that fully dominant Giannis in Milwaukee that they can hang. And I do think they have the requisite pieces when they play their best basketball to at least keep the game close. Even if Milwaukee wins, I don't know if it's going to be a blowout unless it just happens early and there's this avalanche that Phoenix can't stop. I think Phoenix, led by Chris Paul and Devin Booker, will hunker down, will make this difficult, might even win it, get us to a Game 7, which is emotionally what I want because I want extra basketball.
Yes.
But I lean Suns +5 in a close game.
I hope you're right. I also want extra basketball. Nothing on the side for me as of now. Do love the total. Sorry, Tim Bontemps. I'm going to go under 222. This is the highest closing total, or it could be the closing total. As of right now, it's going to be the highest total that we've seen for the entire series, thanks to that 242-point outburst that we saw in Game 5. It's a zigzag league. Everyone's going to be thinking, oh, we just saw a ton of points. Let's go over. Just like in the last game, they wanted to go under. Remember, because we got a very low-scoring game? Boom, think the opposite. Look at what happened in Game 5. Milwaukee shot 57% from the floor, best of 22 playoff games. They shot 50% from deep, best of 22 playoff games. The Suns shot 55% from the floor, second best of 21 playoff games. And get this, Phoenix shot 68% from deep, which is clearly their best of the playoffs, and somehow lost the game.
Yeah.
How do you shoot 55% from the floor and 68% from deep and lose the game? A story for another day. The point is, these two teams shot the lights out, but the pace continues to drop. I think that game gave us a gift. It inflated the total, which for the last game was like 218, 219. Now we're up. Now we go the other way. It's all about the zigzag. So, you've laid out the side.
Right.
I've laid out the total.
Right.
Any props catching your eye for tomorrow night?
Yeah, the one I've liked the most, though I don't love it as much as I did in Game 5 when it did hit, was a Chris Paul double-double.
Okay.
It was +150 in Game 5. He responded with 21 points, 11 assists. Played just 35 minutes, which I thought was a little low given how important a Game 5 is when a series is tied at 2 apiece. The winner of that Game 5 wins the series something like 80% of the time. So I thought Chris Paul in a, almost must-win situation would be out there a lot and give you a vintage Paul performance, which he did. Now they literally are in a must-win situation because if they lose, the season is over and Milwaukee is the champion. So I don't like that the prices dropped to +120, but I do think that you're going to get a similar performance from Chris Paul, despite the defense Jrue Holiday has played on him. We know he's going to score double-digit points because his market is 21.5 for his over-under. So likely he's going to at least give you something with double-digit in terms of points. His assist prop is 8.5. And again, I'm going to go over that because I think if Phoenix is going to be their best version, they need Paul getting in the lane, creating for DeAndre Ayton, getting in the lane, kicking to those shooters on the perimeter, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, and the like, even Torrey Craig. So 35 minutes, I think, was also a floor in Game 5 for Chris Paul. He should be out there if his body can handle it for 40 minutes to maximize their chances of winning.
By the way, in Game 5, you played the Giannis under half a made three-pointer
Yes.
prop. Friday's Daily Wager, I followed it. He only shot one and he missed it. It's such a fun bet now that he's not shooting
Bang, bang.
anymore, but it's not priced as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Devin Booker under 31.5 points. This prop has been floating around 27.5 or 28.5 the entire series. And now that he's knocked the lights out 2 games in a row with 40+, the prop is all the way up to 31.5. Great opportunity to bet the under. He took 61 shots over the last 2 games. That's 30.5 per game for a guy that averaged 19 shots per game during the regular season. More importantly, though, he's shooting 56% from the floor over the last 2 games. It's going to drop off at some point. When it does, we want to take advantage. And with the number as high as it is at 31.5, that, my friends, is an under. Same logic for why we're playing under for the game. We're playing the under for Booker's prop. Series price. Here we go. The Bucks are now -400. The Suns are +320. We just talked to Tim Bontemps about this. Would you play Phoenix at all given the current pricing structure?
I wouldn't, even though it's the best price that we have gotten by far this entire series.
Yes.
And I do think Phoenix can win back-to-back games. Game 6 in Milwaukee and then go home and win Game 7. But if you look at the NBA MVP or NBA Finals MVP market, pardon me, Devin Booker's 5-1. Chris Paul's 9-1.
One of those two would win it.
One of those two is going to win it if the Suns come back and win the series. So why not wager on both of them with an equal value bet, or the one that you feel most conviction about, and get a better return on your investment should the Suns come back and win?
I like the logic. I'm passing on this for the same reason. I don't think the pricing's right. If you bet $100 on the Suns to come back and win at plus 320, you would win $320, right? Do a rollover money line parlay instead. Play the Suns on the money line in Game 6 because that's what you're doing anyway. They're plus 175. If they win, you take it, you roll it over to the Suns in Game 7, which they're likely -4 given everything we've seen in the series. -4 translates to -175 on the money line. When you put it all together, I'll do the math for you. Instead of giving you $320, it would give you $332.14. So there's a difference of $12.14. That, ladies and gentlemen, is how you extract value. And if this wasn't a family-friendly show, I'd take my shirt off, I'd throw it through the roof to prove everybody wrong that I could do math. Despite the D's and the C's throughout all those years, I can do math when I want to, when it pertains to my pockets, and it actually matters. All right, let's keep it cooking. And how about this? For the first time on the show, we're going to talk some Olympics.
The
Olympics.
We teased you earlier with this beautiful monitor behind us here. I mean, that looks like a nice sunset. I don't know if that's Tokyo or not, but that's where I want to be golfing.
That looks like a man with a swing who's not getting beat by a one-armed man in the
Damn
Denver
it, Fortenbaugh, you had to bring it up
like
again.
some other people I know. All right, so here's what we're going to do. By the way, congratulations to Colin Morikawa.
Yes.
We on Daily Wager had futures on Speed, on Louis, on Koepka, and Morikawa just slides right in there and gets the job done. So here's what we're going to do.
Granted, we didn't see normal open conditions. It was very docile. It
was very nice.
At, what was it, Sandwich, Kent, England?
Royal St. George's in Sandwich, England. Very nicely done. So the Tokyo Olympics start 4 days from today on July 21st. Our coverage will continue to increase as we get closer and closer to the action. Today we're focusing, obviously, on golf. This is a 72-hole stroke play tournament, so it's what we're used to seeing on the PGA Tour. It's at Kasumagaski Country Club in Kasahata, Saitama, Japan. I apologize if I butchered any of that, but I have been practicing it all day. The field consists of 60 players, so this is much smaller than your average field of around 140 to 160 given the event. Your top 6 in odds are as follows. No surprise, the Spaniard Jon Rahm finds himself at the top of the board at 5-1. Xander Schauffele and Colin Morikawa at 10-1 each. Justin Thomas and Rory McIlroy at 11-1. Bryson DeChambeau, who made the cut by a stroke, 2 birdies in his final 6 holes to get home. He is at 12-1. So here's what we're going to do. 2 picks each. Give me however you want to do it, whether it's favorites, whether it's long shots. Your layout 2, I'll lay out 2. For those unfamiliar, back in 2016 when the Olympics were at Rio, the gold medal went to Justin Rose, silver medal to Heinrich Stenson, bronze medal to our very own Matt Kuchar, one of the worst dressed golfers on tour. I just have to bring that up. It never makes sense how he puts those patterns together.
All right, I have 2 bets. Obviously, there's favorites at the top for good reason, and one of them Baby mentioned because he's the best golfer on planet Earth right now, and we saw it backed up even though he didn't win the Open. He was very good. But I like the 25-1 value of the Aussie Cam Smith as my best bet, and I'll give you a long shot with my second. But you got to score, okay, to win this. And Cameron Smith is 7th on the tour in birdies per round at 4.32. He usually performs better. Fortenbaugh, which, by the way, I appreciate the pronunciations on everything you had to do there at the Japanese.
It was a busy morning. It was a very busy morning.
Fantastic, Fortenbaugh, but he usually performs better, Cam Smith, at deeper fields, harder tracks. 6 of his last 8 rounds have been in the 60s over his last 2 worldwide events. That includes the Open Championship, but he struggled on Sundays with back-to-back 74 in those 2. So clean up Sunday, and Cam Smith he's a big game hunter I like at 25-1. I think more appropriately he should be around 18, 20-1 given the field.
He did really well for me at the Masters. I love the kid.
He's a good player when it comes to these type of fields. And then my long shot, a guy who's been playing really good golf right now from Canada.
Guido!
No, I didn't give you Guido. Mackenzie Hughes at 100-1.
Wildly
the Canadian.
Disappointing.
15th or better, Joe, in 3 of his last 4 worldwide events, including a T6 at the Open Championship.
He was good.
He had a T15 at the United States Open. So again, in these deeper, better, harder fields, Mackenzie Hughes, the Canadian, has been good. Obviously, Corey Connors is the top Canadian. But again, this is a 100-1 long shot that I think has a little bit of value based on the form of Hughes worldwide over the last few weeks.
I like him. I like him a lot. Cameron Smith is a nice payday at 25-1, and Mackenzie Hughes is in good form as of late. I like where your head's at. I don't have anything nearly as juicy. Ladies and gentlemen, one of my picks is the favorite, Jon Rahm. The guy is always in contention.
I can't say it's even a bad bet with how good he is right now.
He is always in contention.
Can't say it's a bad bet.
So tied for 5th at the Masters, tied for 8th at the PGA Championship, won the U.S. Open, and then when he should have just mailed it in for the Open Championship, he finishes T3. And if you watched the coverage yesterday, every time they cut to him, he was sticking his iron and then missing the putt. He must have missed like 6 birdie putts in a row. He could have won the thing. It was incredible, but this guy's always in the hunt. I absolutely want some money on Jon Rahm. I don't see any way he's not going to at least be in contention when he gets over to Japan. Number 2, I'm going with the hometown flavor, Hideki Matsuyama.
Right.
He's priced at 20-1. He's from Japan. This is in Japan. He won the Masters this year. Now, maybe the pressure's back on in front of the home crowd, so you got to be a little bit worried, but I don't think they're allowing spectators anyway, so is there a home crowd? At this price, given the fact that he probably has some familiarity over this course, they've known it's going to be this course for a while, he probably found his way out there a little bit, like some of the guys do at the Masters at Augusta, Phil Mickelson, a month in advance or so. I figure I'll take a shot. It would be a great story for the Olympics if Matsuyama won. I'd like to be a part of that if it happens.
I was surprised to see him at 20-1 because he is one of the best ball strikers in the world, is one of the best golfers, now a major champion. I thought he would be closer to 15, 14-1 with some of the other favorites, but I didn't pick him because of that concern about the pressure he's probably putting on himself, even though he kind of relieved it, becoming Japan's first male major champion at the Masters. This is on his home turf, so I imagine he's going to apply a lot of pressure to himself. He already does, but 20-1 is a great price on Matsuyama, who probably has an advantage over everyone in the field in terms of course familiarity.
And just to be clear, it wasn't intentional, but we didn't pick any Americans. We literally went with nothing but the foreigners. So we'll see how that plays out. Hopefully it works for us. All right, let's wrap it up with Diamond Dollars, the segment that just won't go away as I continue to try to lose you money, but somehow got one right last week. Neither here nor there at the moment. 0-2 last week, but you took some long shots on the Derby.
I should have listened to you. You picked the winner, Pete Alonso. Your handicapping was, you're giving me launch angle, exit velocity, this, that, and the other, all these granny stats that my granny doesn't know. Alonso's been there before, done it before, the only guy in the field, and he comes out and wins.
He was so confident, too. You're watching, it's like, why did we not bet this guy with more money?
At least Ohtani and Soto put on a show for us, and Soto ended up with the longest hater as well by a few feet.
And you also talked about taking Soto over Ohtani on daily wagers. So, yeah, absolutely. Your dancer, but you only went $5 apiece.
NBD.
Shake it off.
So
back to business, though, now.
Back to
Second half of the season for Diamond Dollars. What are we doing?
Reds on the run line tonight at home against your New York Metropolitans. So they got to win by 2 runs. -1.5 is what they are laying, but you get a nice, juicy return of +1.
Oh, I like that.
Now, the big reason why is Jerrod Eickhoff is pitching for the New York Mets. And let me tell you something about Jerrod Eickhoff that you may not have known, Joe Fortenbaugh. Dating back to 2019, Eickhoff has allowed 5.5 homers per 9 innings to left-handed bats. Let me repeat. Jerrod Eickhoff, dating back to 2019, so this is not small sample size theater here. 5.5 homers per 9 innings to left-handed batters.
That is absolutely terrible for those at home who might not have the contact. That is terrible.
I checked, I double-checked just to make sure this was the right stat. It is actually worse this year in 5 1/3 innings pitched against left-handed hitters. He's allowed 5 home runs.
Oh, my
5
God.
to 6 taters he's given up this year are 2 lefties. Now, this is a small ballpark. You got guys like Winker, Naquin, and Votto who have power from the left side for the Reds. And we know how abysmal the New York Mets offense can be, even though Vince Gutierrez is not a superstar pitcher for the Reds. He can have some good games. I just think the Reds are going to put crooked numbers all over the board against Eickhoff, especially the left-handed bat. So +155, win by 2 at home. And the Mets might be reeling mentally from DeGrom and Lindor going on the IL. See if we can win some money.
One thing to consider with this game, too, I think the total opened 10, 10.5. It's up to 11. It's moving up. You might want to play the over as well. I'm going to go to the West Coast, also known as the left coast. I'm going to play the Oakland Athletics. This is your fade Fortenbaugh pick. Bet the opposite. I've been terrible at this year. I'm going to be on the A's -111 over the Angels. It's Ohtani for Los Angeles. I think he's getting a little overvalued. Everyone loves him. Everyone wants to bet him. Now there's opportunity to go the other way. And Ohtani's only loss this season came against guess who?
Oakland A's.
Oakland Athletics when he gave up 3 runs and 4 walks in 6 innings pitched. Cole Irvin goes for Oakland tonight. Pre-June, 4.12 ERA. The A's were 3-8 in his 11 starts. Post-June, 2.95 ERA. The A's are 6-1 in his 7 starts. Good value on the A's. It's nothing against Ohtani. He's been great, but the value's going up. It's like betting Floyd Mayweather in a fight, right? It's through the roof. Everyone. He's Tyler Fulghum. I'm Joe Fortenbaugh. This is Bet. Thank you for tuning in. Catch us on ESPN 2 at 6 p.m. Eastern for today's episode of Daily Wager.